Okay, so a general function is, of course, functions that we use all the time. They are built into the program. This one here is the input function, which allows the user to type in a response to a question that's posed to them. So, for example, we've got here a variable called name. We're making the input function, and effectively, what the input function is like is a print function, but it leaves the cursor for the user to then type in a response, and then whatever they type in, once they press enter, that gets stored in whatever variable name that we've assigned to that input function. So in this case, we're saying name equals to the input of the question, what is your name? So when the person types in Bill, as it gets printed here, name has now stored that value Bill. And so then when we ask for the value of name, it gives us the variable, it gives us the string Bill. Okay, so just say that again because I fumbled over my words slightly there. So we got name is a variable, we've got the input function, and we're asking the user a question. Whatever they typed in as a response to that question gets stored in that variable, in this case called name. And then when we output the value of name, it will give us whatever the person typed in. All right. So probably by now you would have tried the input function in Python in your programming lessons. So I don't need to go over that with any level of detail. The next thing that we need to consider is the open function. Now, open is basically a file handling function. It allows us to be able to write to a text file. So imagine you have a scenario where you've got a program running. If the program crashes, as a software developer, you probably want to write a log to indicate why the program has crashed. So you might then build into your program a little thing that would write to a text file so that you know what happened. Likewise, you might have a situation where you're running a simple game and you want to be able to write the results of that game to a file so that when the user comes back to your program, there is a record of how they progress through through the game. Again, you would write the results of that to a file so that when it gets reloaded. So in terms of how you would do so, I'll show you in a second, but there is a parameter that gets put into the open function. R is for reading of a text file, W is for writing, and A is for appending to a text file. All right, so let's just go show you how this might work in reality. So again, here we have, let's go back to the beginning of this. So we have the function itself is called open. And what would happen is if the text file exists, it would read that text file. So in this case, we got here open demo file.txt is a text file, and we're saying we want to read that text file. All right, and then whatever gets read from that text file gets stored into this variable called f. And of course, when we print that variable using the read function, it would then take everything from that file and then print it to the screen for us. So imagine this is a text file. It says, hello, welcome to demo file.txt. This file is for testing purposes. Good luck. Now, when we run this program, let's see what happens. Now, you notice that it read the file from the location that this particular Python file is stored. So they would have to be stored in the same location. Otherwise, you'll have to specify where this file can be found. Okay, so I'll just say that again. When you're using the open function, if you don't specify a full path for where to find the file from, it would only look for it in your Python folder where this program is running. As I said, I'll show you an example of how it can work otherwise in a second. Now, if we go back to our program here, the other example is, as I said before, you can specify where to read the file from. So you can say, go into my D drive, go into my files, find welcome.txt and read the content. All right. So And the read says here, by default, read method returns the whole text, but you can also specify how many characters you want to return. So in this case, if we want to return just 5 characters from it, and that probably prints us just hello. Yes, because the file, text file had hello world, etc. within it, and so it returned hello for us. Right. The other thing to note is that you can read lines, so you can read line by line. If the text file has multiple lines within it, you can use the read line, and that would read line by line. So if we go again use to the example here, so the first line just reads the first line, and then if we go back to the function again, we use this other one. We're using read line twice now. Then it should read 2 lines. It's read the first line and it's read the second line. Yeah, so we can see how we can use the read line function as well as part of it. Okay. Yeah, of course we can use a loop to then read every single line by line as well. Right, I just realized there's earlier on I needed to go over this explanation slightly better because I was explaining and I realized that I stumbled myself as I was looking at the example. So here, when we use the variable b, what we're supposed to say is that we're starting from position number 2, which I think I did explain, 1, 2, and then we're returning it up to the 5th character. So still from the beginning, so we're going to now say we started from here, then carry on up to the 5th, so then it would return LLO, yeah, up to the 5th character. So that just starts from the beginning, specifying where it's starting from, and then up to the 5th character. Okay, so that's just, hopefully that cleared that little, perhaps a confusion up. And going back to where we were with regards to the open function. Now the open function can also be used to, oh by the way, when we read from a file, or whenever we deal with a file, we always have to close the file afterwards, because then that frees up the memory of the computer to be able to work with other parts of the program. Okay, so we always use the close to close the fact that basically what happens is when we open a file, we're saying we have exclusive right to that file, or the program has exclusive right to that file, and if we don't close it, then that file hangs in the memory of the computer. Yeah, we don't want that to happen, so we need to close it to release that file. Imagine we want to add more to it. We need to be able to release that file so that the computer the operating system has access back to it. Another thing we can do is to write to a text file. Okay, so you notice that there are 2 different possibilities here: append, which will add to the end of the file, okay, or write, which would overwrite the content of the file. So if you look at this example here, we got again the open function. We're specifying where we want to add to, which is this demo text file. What we're saying is append to it. Now the file has more content. Okay, so it should now add to the end of the file more content. So then if we want to then read that file, we're going to again use the read section, read part, to be able to figure out what's written in that text file. So in the first instance, we added a bit more text to it, and then we read it from that same text file. So just show you how that works. So remember, it finished with good luck before, and now we added. Now the file has been has more content. All right, so that added to it. Yeah, append is the key word for that. So when we add more to the text file, it's called append. Right, going back here, we can also use the W. What W does is it would remove anything that's there and just write over it. Okay, so let's have a look at this example with the W. You notice now it's deleted everything that there was previously, and it's now put, whoops, I have deleted the content. So in a situation where you might say you've got a game, if the user, you want to keep their previous scores, yeah, maybe you want to keep their top 10 scores, for example, you would use append because you want to keep what they had previously. But in a situation where perhaps you're only concerned about the highest score, or the most recent score rather, then you would use the write because you want to keep the most recent score only. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. Again, go try these things out for yourself.